Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Red Devil Experience. Hope everybody is doing well. It's Monday. How we feeling? My name's Eric. Hope everybody's good. We got the latest Manchester United news. A couple things. Michael Carrick press conference. We're previewing West Ham tomorrow. We're going to be live as well. Doing a watch along. We're going to do the Red Devil recap. Of course, after every match, as much as we possibly can, which we usually do 95% of the time. You know. We got a slight transfer updates, some news surrounding Sandro Tonali, a couple other players, and also we need to talk about the interesting update that we got from Gary Neville very early on today. It came out early today. Gary Neville giving us sort of a bit of a full PR sort of update from Ineos himself. He was almost like an Ineos spokesperson in the manner of the update that we got from him. Bit of a lengthy one. Quite a bit of detail. I was a bit surprised that he sort of released the information he released, I guess. To a certain extent, wasn't really expecting that sort of update from Gary. He said one or two things in there that, listen, I haven't agreed with all of our legends. And I certainly won't agree with them all the time. He said a couple things in there that I do agree with, but we will talk about that. So, it's going to be a good show. Get in here. Make sure you smash the like button, because it's important to the channel. It helps the channel grow. Helps more Reds be part of the community, so get that done. And also, if you're new, we're trying to get to 3,300. We're 10 away. So, subscribe. Hit the notification bell icon. Get involved in the comments. We want to hear from you. Lucky is here, nice and early. It's a lot of things. Mason Mount, slowly doing well. Mason Mount looks all right to be back on the bench, traveling squad. Well, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the updates Carrick gave us. Apparently, there is somebody that apparently is missing out of the traveling squad. We're also, I'll get into that as well. Axe is here. What's up, Axe? Lawrence is here. What's up, Lawrence? Lawrence says, good evening. My battery is about to expire. Therefore, the watch along tomorrow, GGMU. All right, well, fair play. Fair enough. The battery dies. Not much you can do about it, you know? What are you going to do? Axe says, let me guess, Neville is giving up on being a pundit and it will start a serious career. No, I think we could have all hoped for that, you know. We would have liked to see him say, I'm leaving my pundit job to go take on a new managerial career at so-and-so team, and I'd be there watching with popcorn. But no, that is not the update. We got more people joining. Welcome. How's everybody doing? Sadiq says, hey, my friend, we are back to winning. I like our legends, but we need best in class in terms of manager and Ancelotti. Well, we're going to talk about the manager thing as well. So we're going to talk about it all, I promise. All right. But good point. Snap Meme says, I feel like we should have scored more against Spurs. Definitely. I mean, listen, real quick on that. They got a red card in, what was it? The 26th minute of the match. We scored 10 minutes later. You say maybe, all right, we made it to halftime and it was 1-0. But, that was sort of the only slight disappointing thing. And it's something you got to take into consideration. But it's, listen, we got the job done at the end of the day. We got the 3 points. We scored a second goal. We secured the game. But yes, I mean, if we're going to start like nitpicking a lot of stuff, I would have preferred. I wanted us to go score another 2, another 3, really put the game to bed. So that aspect of the team still lingers in there. These matches that we've played, okay, like City, Arsenal, those were close games. Fulham was a close game. Tottenham was still a close game. So we are playing better, okay? We're doing better things. We're playing confident. We're playing more positive. But we still have a few more levels to go up, right? And that's going to come over time. It's going to come with, playing matches, getting results, more time, I guess, with Carrick and the squad together, working on the things that they're working with on the training ground. But, it's been a positive start. So, Bring on United says, how's it going, everyone? How's it going, buddy? How you doing? How you feeling? Carlos Baleba getting tempo back. Want summer, nothing changed, says Lucky. Renoso is here. What's up, Renoso? Frank Garcia says, time to shave our friend's Leon hair. Dude, I mean, he's got to get it done, yeah? I mean, we got to get it done for him, all right? I feel bad. I feel bad. I mean, listen, he's sort of done this to himself, yeah, Frank? All right? But the guy needs a haircut. I need a haircut, all right? And my hair is nothing like his hair. I need a haircut, all right? I'm going to go get one soon, probably sometime this week, although I am busy. But yeah, listen, the lads, come on. I mean, Carrick was asked about it. He had a laugh about it. His kids keep him informed on the, I guess, the social trends, you know. And I liked Carrick's response. You know, it was good. It was funny. We'll get into that. Snap says, we are 6 goals off City. Who has scored the most goals this season? Yeah, I mean, listen, the attack. I've been saying this. The attack has been really good. All right, and it's done much better. I think, you know, I don't know the exact statistics in terms of if you want to compare it. Certainly, it's got to be better than last season. Yeah, that's like you don't need to look at stats to know that. I would say it's even better than the season before that as well. And then, you know, start comparing it to the season before that, the season before then, the season before that. That's when I think you would need to look at it a little bit. But I've been saying it sort of makes sense that we've created loads of chances. We scored more goals. We spent a good amount of money. Now, spending money doesn't mean like ultimate success, but as we know at Manchester United, you know, we've basically lit money on fire, and it hasn't transpired to the ultimate success that we want. But we did spend good money, and I do say, well, I have my discrepancies and differences with Ineos. I have said that at the very least, I like the profile of player that they've been going after. I think, you know, the transfers has been good, or has been better than, you know, what we were doing. And I think they have improved to a certain degree. And I think that's why, you know, we spent a certain chunk on the attack, and the attack has done well this season. So maybe there's a little bit of sense in sort of the madness that Ineos does, because they seem like, you know, they're going to do the same thing they did to the attack for the midfield at the end of the season. And, you know, we'll see how this sort of gets put together and plays out and transpires on the pitch. You know, it seems like they're doing it in sections, where they did the attack, they're going to do the midfield, and then I would assume we'll fill a bit of the gaps in the defense if we need at some point. So Bring On United says, oh, good, man. Did my first live watch along last night. Nice. On YouTube versus the City versus Liverpool game. Gutted City won, but at least Liverpool aren't catching us up. Yeah, I wanted a draw, but that's good, man. I hope it went well. I remember when I first started, and you know, I'm not a big shot or anything. I'm just saying. I was a bit nervous. I wasn't too adjusted to having a conversation the way that we do. So you know, all I'll say is, you know, just keep going, man. Just put the content in. Do shows. You know, progress is not so linear. You'll have ups and downs. You'll have shows that'll probably explode. You'll have shows that maybe don't do so well. But it's you know, it's all good and it's all fun. And you know, as we see, you could create a nice little community, and you know, keep it rolling, man. Good luck, all the best. I hope it went well. I was watching the match. I wanted to draw, but you know, we'll take a Liverpool loss, I guess, as well. It's not too bad. Doesn't hurt. Snap Meme says, I feel like we are going to get many more clean sheets, because after Amorim, I've been seeing some awesome defensive displays. Well, we do need, you know, the more clean sheets we get, the better. You know, and we'll see. I mean, this match against West Ham, you know, we are way further higher than them, but again, it's not going to be an easy match. You know what I mean? They have been playing well recently. They put in some good displays. I think, like, you know, 4 out of their 5 last matches, they've done really well. They did well against Chelsea before they sort of collapsed. And they're a bit of a physical team as well. So it's not going to be like, you know, we're going to rock up to West Ham. And I don't think, again, you know, I think it's fair to say there's no really sort of pushover in the Premier League. Maybe Wolves. All right, because they're by far the worst team. And, you know, they've been horrible. But every other team, really, they put up a fight. And, you know, I expect a fight from West Ham. especially because they're going to be home. And we haven't won, actually. We haven't beaten West Ham. I don't know if it's at West Ham Stadium or in general, but since 2023, I believe we haven't beat them at their stadium since 2023. So another one of these sort of records that we potentially get to end, okay? Because we did the one at Anfield. We did the one against Arsenal as well. We probably did another one or two somewhere else that I can't remember right now, but we've done a few of these this season. So we got a chance to do 5 in a row, which is another thing that we haven't done in quite a long time. And we have a chance to beat West Ham at West Ham's place since 2023. So, man, talking with not many comments is interesting, haha, but it's a lot of fun. I only started uploading January, so still at the beginning. Well, go press on full ahead, buddy. Have fun with it. It is a bit strange, So it happens to me sometimes, some people just like to listen and I'm talking, and sometimes the show is me just talking. But other times, the chat gets very interactive like it is right now, and lots of people are commenting. So it's just part of the thing. You get used to it, with anything else over time, man. The more you do it, the better you get at it. The more you learn and stuff like that. So Box is here, says, yo, Eric, what's up, Box? Been a while, man. How you doing? Big game versus West Ham. We have a 2-week break after, so let's go out with the 3 points. Yeah, I'm a little bit concerned with the 2-week break, just slightly. I get a little paranoid at times. Okay, I don't really like the 2-week break thing. Okay, because we're on good momentum, and it could help you sometimes. It could screw you over. The one thing I will say is maybe that plays a little bit into our area, and it could go either way. I think you can make an argument for both cases. Is listen, we are playing about one match a week compared to a lot of the other teams, so maybe a 2-week break. Maybe we're a bit more accustomed to it than the other teams. The other teams have been rolling along. They're playing 2 to 3 weeks a game. They'll get a good amount of rest, but also their momentum will stop, and maybe it's a bit harder for them to pick back up, and maybe it's a bit easier for us to just sort of continue. Since we've been in this rhythm sort of all season, it's just sort of an extra week. But I do get a bit concerned because this is the time where it's like I don't want to break, okay? There's been times where our team hasn't been so great, and you're like desperate for a 2-week break. Like, go away, reset, let's try and, figure some stuff out. We come back and we start over again. But this is not the situation where we want to sort of take a break and start again. We want to keep the ball rolling. We're in a good space. We're in a good positive place. So Sadiq says we will beat West Ham. Well, I do think so. Box says, I was looking at the schedule for April time. Looks like we have a 3-week break. Yeah. 2 weeks for internationals, then 1 week for FA Cup, I believe. Yeah, we do. There's international in there. And then there's, like you're saying, something with FA Cup. So, Sab, Bring On says he uploads a long form. I like long form and shorts as well. See, I got to get into the shorts, but Axe says a good team can come back into form easily. For far too long, we have been dependent on momentums and Brunoism. Now we have a system and a way of playing to return to. Well, yeah. I think that's fair assessment as well. Like, listen, if we're going to do the things that we need to do and they've turned a leaf, for me, it's always just really basic. You figure out a way and you get the job done. So that's what I'm looking for them to do. That's what I'm hoping. But I'll still be a bit concerned, you know what I mean? But listen, real quick, all right? Well, let's shift gears a little bit, all right? Because it's been a really good opening to the stream. Very, very good. You guys have come in here firing away immediately on a Monday, nonetheless, all right? But I sort of want to get this out of the way, and then we could shift more towards West Ham, the team, players, traveling squad, updates like that. But I do want to talk about this Gary Neville thing, okay? Because Gary Neville came out, he made, sort of a big statement on MUFC making a managerial appointment, and this is the whole statement. So bear with me. It goes, it's decently. It's like a 2-minute, 3-minute read, but he did have a bit to say. So he said in quotes, he said, I asked the club what is the official position of the football club in terms of what you're saying publicly to everybody else. They said they've actually begun the process now, starting to look for another manager, which I thought, right. That's good to hear because you need to plan for everything. They've started the process of speaking to and looking at other managers, building all the sorts of data and analyzing who should be the next manager of the football club. But what they've said is that they're not going to be bounced into, irrespective of wins or draws or losses on the pitch in this next couple of months, making an appointment. They're going to wait until towards the end of the season. He then goes on to say, if Michael then at that point makes himself available for the job, and I did actually say a couple weeks ago I wondered whether Michael actually would say no. He is that type of guy, Michael. He's someone who would always work in the best interest of the football club. He may do that, or he might say no, I feel comfortable enough and I've built such a good relationship with the players, his coaching staff, to put his name in the hat. At that point, Michael Carrick, like any other recruitment role in the country for any other business, would go into what would be a process versus the likes of Thomas Tuchel and all the others that are going to become available in the summer. I think that's fair. Now, on that sort of comment, I mean, I haven't always agreed with a lot of things our legends have said. I still respect them as our legends, but they are pundits, and, you know, I will disagree with them when I feel like it's necessary or that I don't believe in what they're saying. But with Gary Neville, I was a bit surprised that he sort of, if I read it right, he basically started off by saying and told us the information that they haven't actually told us publicly, but that they are doing. So I found that a bit interesting that he's come out and said that. But I do agree with the whole, listen, Manchester United, and I've been saying this for a little bit, okay? In the beginning, when they first hired Carrick, or right before they hired Carrick, I was a bit unsure, but I sort of made up my mind. And I think it would be unfair not to consider Carrick just because he's Carrick and because we won with Ollie, and he's a little bit inexperienced in terms of when you compare him to the Ancelottis or the Tuchels or stuff like that. He should get given the chance he should be in the running consideration throughout this process. But Manchester United, I do agree that the proper thing is that, listen, you have all this time. You shouldn't just be sitting there doing nothing. The proper way is you should be starting the process now. You should have as many options as available, and you should take this time from now until, whatever the end of the season or a little bit after the end of the season, to come to a conclusive decision on who the next manager is. That is the proper thing to do. I don't think there is anything wrong with that. I also said that, and I do agree sort of with what they're saying and what he's saying, is that even if Carrick wins 15 matches in a row, they should not make the decision after the 15th win. They should carry out the full process, talk to everybody, and then make the decision. All right. They should not turn around and in April, all of a sudden, we're getting a breaking news story saying that Michael Carrick has been made the permanent manager. They should follow through to the whole process. There's no need to rush it to a certain degree. Don't wait till mid-July to make the decision, because we got to get the ball rolling for transfers and stuff. But you can take this time. They should take this time. And I think it is fair as well that, that he would be sort of going through a process where they will talk to Tuchel, they will talk to Ancelotti, they will talk to other managers, and he should be up for consideration. I think that's totally fair. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't think it should be leaned one way or the other. I don't think it should be, just give it to Carrick and ignore everybody else, or give it to somebody else and ignore Carrick regardless of what he does. I think that, that is sort of the proper process to go through here. So, Bach says, for the small sample size under Carrick, it looks like we're making use of training. Not sure this season under Amorim if the training was tapered enough in terms of producing dividends plus progression. Bring On says, Mbeumo was spotted with the team, which is awesome. I think Sesko might start and have Mbeumo on in the second half if needed. Hopefully we will be up a few goals before then. Well, listen, I think again, football is like this, and he might not be starting under Michael Carrick, but he will get opportunities, and he's done decently well as well coming off of the bench anyway, Sesko. So it might be a game that he needs to step up into and start, and he's got to take his chance. And I'll be okay if Sesko starts instead of Mbumo. We'll see. I mean, he was limping a little bit after, but he is with the team, so. How fit is he? I wouldn't be surprised. Bring on, if he maybe doesn't start. We don't necessarily want to risk him. Maybe he's not fully fit. Maybe he's fit enough to be on the bench and play some minutes. Maybe he starts and plays 45 and gets taken off. Something like that. It's always something that we don't exactly know. From the medical examinations and stuff, what the recommendation is on how many minutes can he play. Can he play 25? Is he able to play 45? Is 65 risking too much? I would think 90 would probably be too much if he came off limping with the short turnaround that it is. We played Saturday, we're playing tomorrow. So we'll see how it goes, but we got to have faith in the rest of the boys. And, everybody else is the rest of the team is playing good. Kobe's playing good. Bruno's playing good. Cunha's done well. Diallo's done well. Sesko off the bench has done well. Lisandro has done well. Maguire has done good. Lemons is doing good. Even Delo is doing good as well. And, Luke Shaw as well. So, I'm not too concerned. I think, now is a good environment that if somebody has to come into the team and step up, they're not coming into a team that's like struggling, they're going to probably feel confident. And, the team dynamic has changed as well. I mean, when Sesko came on, you could see that they're looking for him a little bit more. They're trying to give him the ball a little bit more. They're placing a little bit more faith and trust in the striker as well. We're playing more to the striker, not even just Sesko, but just in general. So I think that's encouraging as well. And we got to see what we sort of get into that. Bach says I stopped listening to Neville a while ago, to be honest. Well, listen, they make comments and, we'll discuss them. You don't have to take what they say. You don't have to agree with what they say. Never that. But, Bach says, I wanted Carrick permanent manager after, I lost that. I wanted Carrick as permanent manager after Amorim was sacked, start of January. I want to follow through this process properly and learn from the Ali era, making adaptations, tweaks to take us to that next level. Well, the thing is also that I would say is, and I forgot to mention that interesting point where Gary did say if Carrick, it feels weird calling him Michael. I don't know him personally. If Carrick then at that point makes himself available for the job, and Gary said that he said a couple weeks ago, I wonder whether Michael actually would say no. There is sort of a bit in me that kind of feels like that maybe Carrick does decide to sort of turn it down, because he's sort of done it before, and only Carrick knows, inside of himself, in his head and in his heart, what he feels like is proper for the football club. I do trust Michael Carrick to do what he believes would be best for the football club. If he and ultimately it'll come down to if he does ultimately feel ready to take on the job permanently, full time, and give it a go, and it's what's best for the club, then I guess he'll be there. If he feels like he's got more work to do and it's not really his time to take over this mantle, I think he will sort of vacate the spot. He's done it sort of twice. Maybe one time was different for another time, but he's done it sort of twice. He's had two sort of different opportunities to at least be caretaker for a longer period of time, and he never really did it. So, he's coming now. It's a longer stint than previous, but he may ultimately decide, I came in, I helped the club because it was in need. They didn't have options. I helped them out. They helped me out. I learned here as well. I got some of this experience at managing at a top end of a football club, a big football club. But I got more work to do, and I'm going to go and do my work, and then maybe I'll return, again in another day. And maybe that's what happens. But, we got to see how it goes. It's more about style of play, making the use of the players we have, the direction, player development, rather than points on the board to some extent. Anyone can fluke a few results, but consistency is what we want. Yeah, ultimately, the ultimate goal is consistency, because without consistency, we're not going to go anywhere, right? And people tend to confuse consistency and progress the way it's made. Okay, consistency is trying to do the same things constantly, week in, week out. You might not hit 100% level, okay, every week in, week out, but you need to try to be doing the same things week in, week out, and that sort of goes hand in hand with progress. Like I tend to linken it to like working out or exercising. One day you might lift a lot, the next day you might lift a little bit less. You still showed up, you still lifted, you still put in the effort that was needed. You did a little bit less, but you didn't do nothing. You didn't stop. You didn't really go backwards. And the same thing. If you're running, maybe one day you run. For me, it's miles. For some of you, it might be kilometers. But maybe one day you run 5 miles. Maybe the next day, you could only muster to do 3. You still did 3. It's not 5. You didn't go over 5, but you still put in sort of that effort to do it, and that's sort of what we've been lacking. There's a lot of times we've gone into matches and it's like watching two different teams play. It's like watching two different aspects play out on the pitch. It is very Jekyll and Hyde, and we need that consistency and to keep the feeling in the team the same. You can't see Lucky's comments. The admin banned him, censored, obscured. Okay, well, first of all, there's no admin in here, and nobody is banned Lucky, and I can see all of Lucky's comments. So I don't know what to tell you, Axe, but we don't ban people and we don't hide things. So we've never done that. Renoso says I'm a little bit behind in the comments, so I'll try and make up for it. Renoso says if Carrick wants it and he's up against some bums, give it to Carrick if he finishes better than expected. But if it's a top 3 in the world manager, then I don't know. Owners need to spend either way. Well, they do need to spend either way. They need to back the manager. It is a bit tough, I've been saying, listen, like, again, sort of like if you're weighing up between Carrick and De Zerbi, and Carrick keeps up what he's doing, I'm going to say stick with Carrick. I mean, I don't think De Zerbi really doesn't he doesn't fill me with like sort of maybe the level of excitement I'd get with somebody that has won, Premier Leagues or league titles in other countries or Champions Leagues and stuff like that with some experience. I think for me, ultimately, the tough one would be between Carrick and Nagelsmann, because I like Nagelsmann. He's a very good young coach, but he doesn't have sort of the titles that maybe like Ancelotti has, or even like a Tuchel has, or Tuchel. I really don't see De Zerbi, Glasner, Southgate as any upgrade on Carrick, who finishes 3rd or 2nd, and neither do I. And that's sort of the whole thing. I think, again, like if you're gonna sell it to us that you're gonna make the change for, like, listen, if Carrick finishes top 3 and we win the majority of the rest of our games, and we continue on sort of the form we are right to the end of the season, I don't know how you present the case, to me at least, from Ineos' standpoint, that you got rid of Michael Carrick to go then get me De Zerbi or Glasner. I don't really see much of an upgrade. If you bring in Ancelotti or something, listen, I get it. You can make an argument. There is a difference between Michael Carrick and Ancelotti. It's loads of experience and loads of sort of accolades, okay? And managing for the length of the career he's managed at the top level that he's managed, it's not really comparable. So, Boxes under Ollie, we had some real positivity and I saw some progression, but him and the team above him upstairs lacked a little to take us to the next level. Carrick is smart, plus Ineos smarter than the Glazers. Well, you would hope they're smarter than the Glazers. Sadiq says, and now we need to back our manager. I don't agree with counterattacking football. I like possession-based football. Well, to get possession-based football, we need to continue to transform the team. So, I don't really, I think also in games, Sadiq, like, you might have to counterattack, and at some possessions during the game, you have to counterattack. I think a nice mixture is good. I don't want to do counterattack for 90 minutes because I don't really like that. We should have to try and get a foothold in the game, possession in the game, but it should be a mixture. Because especially right now, I mean, we're not going to fully dominate. I think to get that sort of transformation, we need a little bit more, a little bit extra for things that we don't necessarily have. We need to upgrade. But, yeah, nice mixture going forward would be good. There will be periods in the game where we get a little bit under siege. We need to do our defensive duties. And I would like to see the team, go forward quick, counterattack, and then regain a foothold in the match, which I think we've done. In a couple of the matches so far under Carrick, there was periods. Arsenal was a tough one away. They're 6 years under a project, under a manager. They got better owners than us, and they probably have a better director of football, I would definitely say. So they're further ahead, so it's a bit harder to compete. City's got that money. They got Guardiola, you know what I mean? So we need to get to a certain level. The real indicator is when we suffer a draw or loss, but we will still stick to the plan, work together, trust the process as training, hence equal get back on a positive run. Well, yeah, I mean, listen, for sure, the real test or the real indicator will be, when something negative does happen, what's the response going to be? How do we handle it? I'll sort of be waiting, I'll sort of be waiting. I kind of get excited by those things because it gives us the real answers. It gives us the real sort of, truth. Because, right now we're sort of living in a bit of a dreamland. We're living in a bit of, positivity land. And, that's not, it can't last forever. Okay. Nothing lasts forever. Good or bad, nothing lasts forever. So right now we're in the good. It won't last forever. Could last long. It could last long. Could be short. Could end. Could end tomorrow, for all we know. We hope not. We don't think so, but it could. And, then we got to see how we react into that sort of stuff. And I always like those things. That's why I asked for the toughest matches. I've seen some people saying, it's a bit of a bad time to play West Ham because they're on a good run. I'm like, no. I like that. I think that's good. We should be tested. I don't want to play a horrible, shitty West Ham, go there, roll up, rock up, and beat them 3-0 and roll them over. And, it's really super easy game for us because West Ham are shit. I want West Ham to put up a fight. I want us to earn the win. I want us to play good. I want us to push through. I want us to sort of get over that challenge and accomplish. So I don't want to go play West Ham, and West Ham are god awful. And, we're sort of just cruising there. Hanging out and chilling, and we're in like third gear. I want them to give us a battle. I want them to sort of make us work for it, but I want us to figure out the answer for it, get over the line, and get the win and get the 3 points. Those matches make me much more prouder. They're much more exciting, and they just feel better. They feel better earned, because it's like that wasn't an easy game. And we did what we had to do. We scored good goals. We had good patterns of play. The players stuck it out. They did their jobs. Everybody performed to a high level. West Ham didn't perform at a low level. And we got our 5th win away from home. And it was well deserved. And it just gives the whole thing a better sense of feeling. Grace is here. Says, and in your case, you don't lift at all. I do. Now I do. Well, I've been on and off, so I'm back on it now. We're not going back, though, So don't worry about it. We'll get there, all right? We'll get there. We're pushing forward. Grace says respect to Low. We only ban Arsenal fans, so we don't ban people. Our board need to back our manager, says Sadiq, and remember that we have not properly backed any managers since Sir Alex. Well, we sort of do the thing in that we kind of back the manager properly, but then we just throw the whole project or whatever it is out the window at some point. You know what I mean? So we can't be doing that. I'm tired of that. Okay. And that was sort of my point under Ruben. All right. I never sat here and said that Ruben was doing a fantastic job or a great job. My point was under Ruben Amorim, you made a call, you made a decision. I wanted it to see it go through the processes instead of cutting it short and starting over again. So, I don't want to do it again because I think it's counterproductive to a certain degree, So if again, I think Ineos, you only get so many mistakes. You only get so many sort of redos. All right. So listen, you fucked up on that call on Ruben. All right. You gave it a certain amount of time. You said it's not working. We don't like this direction. We're going back the other way. That's fine. But now you can't, again, chop and change and say we're going in a completely different direction to what we just decided to do now, okay? So we need to see something. We got to see something out, all right? We need to see, we need to head in a certain direction. We can't keep changing paths because it will come back to bite us in the ass. Like it has in the past. We have been my general feeling consensus of Manchester United when you sort of take a big picture view of the past 12 years is it's been very stop and start. And stop and start, it's only going to get you so far, especially if everybody else is sort of on the path and they just keep going. They will pull ahead of you. They will pull away from you. You will sort of get left behind. And that's kind of what I feel like has happened to us. We've brung people in. We've made some sort of progress. We stopped sort of believing in that thing that we were doing, and we kind of stalled. We went backwards, and then we started over again, and we did it 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 again, and we need to stop doing that. So, I think for them, I mean, this is for us as well. I mean, for our football club, but for them specifically. They can't really afford to get whatever the decision they make, okay? And whatever comes out of it and going forward, it's got to work out for them. Because if it goes backwards again, they can't really afford it. You know what I mean? They can't really afford it. They'll be pretty much, 0 for 3 in that sense. Because many people feel like, the whole Ten Hag situation was handled poorly and it was a mistake. Should have been one way or the other. Either you shouldn't have sacked him in the middle of the season, or you should have sacked him, when you did the review. Then the whole Ruben thing, okay? And now we're here, in this situation. It's like they're either going to go with Carrick or they're going to hire some other guy. They hire Carrick, it doesn't go well, it's going to be on them. If they don't go with Carrick and they go with somebody else and that doesn't go well, it's going to be on them. So whatever it is, it needs to lead to some sort of significant progress. And they can't give up on it either. Like, I don't expect it to be a straight shot to the top. It's going to be ups and downs. But when there's downs, they need to sort of stick to their guns, which they haven't done so, and sort of double down a bit and push through to come out to the other side, not, start panicking and, reverse course of action. They banned you on another platform. Yeah, I told you, we talked about this already. So I feel Ancelotti would be a wrong move. It's a case of a little too late, in my opinion. Could be, maybe. I wouldn't shy away from that aspect. I mean, he is a bit on the older side, okay? But I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of things that come with that. Listen, you get Ancelotti, the stakes will raise. The pressure will raise. For things to move on, I think, a lot more quickly. I do think that there is a big difference between, listen, if you get Carlo Ancelotti in or you have Michael Carrick, I think consciously, subconsciously, the fan base, there will be two different trains of thought on that. You bring in Ancelotti, you expect higher results more immediately, more quickly, okay? You bring in Ancelotti, you expect us to do better in the Champions League than maybe you would say under Carrick, okay? To a certain level. And fans will be a little bit more protective of Carrick than they will be of somebody like Ancelotti or maybe Tuchel or something like that. So there will be differences in that will play out as well. So Ancelotti over Tuchel anytime, says Sadiq. Thomas says West Ham and Everton will beat United. Do you think so? I don't think so. I think it'll be different this time. We got, we're sort of on this revenge streak we're going on. So I think it's time we serve up some justice. And I don't think, I don't think our team is not weak. United is not weak like how we were before. We have sort of changed, course. So I don't expect us to go down. Listen, we played West Ham, we played Everton under Ruben, and we were flat. We were weak. We didn't seem like we had any real sort of drive, motivation, incentive, or maybe there was really a lack of idea of what to do. And what we've seen under Carrick, under the 4 matches, all of that is gone. So, and I think that's, at least in football, that's at least 50% of the battle. So, we are there, and the players are performing well. So, Ancelotti coming now would be similar to bringing in a 37-year-old Ronaldo, world class in his day. But is it the right move for us? I don't know if I agree with that necessarily. I think it's a bit different between players and managers, and I still think Carlo plays a good brand of football. And I think he's still in tune with the game. I don't think the game has really moved on from Ancelotti. I think he's done well to adapt, over time throughout his career, and I think he still can play a brand of football that would do well in today's time, and he has the experience to manage a top team, and he is a good man manager as well. He is a good man manager. He's handled plenty of stars. He knows how to handle sort of the pressure at a big club and stuff like that. So I think, he's not going to lose that. That's not going to disappear from him just because he's on the older side. So I think I wouldn't have necessarily a concern eventually. My concern would be ultimately if Carrick continues to do well and we have all this momentum and we have all this thing and it looks like we're sort of on a course to a path of, improving under this guy, and then we sort of start again in a certain way, because again, Carlo will be his own guy. He'll do his own things. I'm sure there will be sort of a different staff as well. Okay, I worry a little bit about the disruption of that and sort of starting again. It is a bit weird. It's a bit strange because we sort of started again under Carrick, and you get to the end of the season, it's like you sort of have to start again as well. Because I don't think any guy that comes in, it's not really like they'll necessarily just pick up where Carrick left off, because they're different people. They have different ideas. They'll handle situations differently. There'll be a different staff there as well. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it'll be bad. Doesn't necessarily mean that it'll be good, though. Anything can sort of come out of that. We may struggle to adapt under a different guy, but maybe not. So in terms of that, it will be a period of like the season is over, and then we have to do preseason, and we got to start again. So maybe it won't be that bad. It's not like we're doing it in the middle of the season or anything. So we'll see. But I think Carlo's a good manager, and I'd be okay with him. No long-term plan with Ancelotti, in my opinion. A stopgap for a few years, then start the looking for a new management process. Well, the same thing. I mean, I could say the same thing about Carrick, though, because ultimately we don't know how far Carrick would be able to take us. ultimately, I mean, there's been a lot of discussion. People like Roy Keane and others say that, like, is Carrick the guy that's ultimately going to win you the Premier League? I think any guy that comes into Manchester United right now, I think the first step that we have to take, okay, is we need to sustain ourselves as a team that is constantly in the top four and is a competitive, sort of challenging team. And so whoever it is, whether it's Carrick or Ancelotti or whoever, they got to come in and do that regardless. Once we get to that level and we are, basically structurally sound in that aspect where, we're starting seasons and we know we have a very good chance to finish in the top four. We expect us to do well, okay? Because it's been very up and down for us. It's been all over the place. Then the next step is to come, well, okay, who's going to be the guy that's actually going to take us over the line? And it could be anybody. Now, you would probably say, well, Carlo's done it, so maybe he'd have a better chance than Carrick. But also, maybe Carrick could just do it. I mean, stranger things have happened in football. Crazier things have happened in life and in football, and maybe he could do it. There is sort of the thing like the Arteta that he's been there for 6 years. He needed 6 years. I mean, they are in first place. They look like they're going to go on and win it with the gap that they have. But it's taken 6 seasons for him. So, I think we're not even at that stage. I know a lot of people want to go and push for the Premier League and go and win it, but I think we're still in a spot where over the next, the remainder of this season and the next season or two, we need to cement sort of our status as we will be in the top four and we will be pushing. I don't expect us to go and win it. If we somehow do that, great. But I think this season and the next 2 seasons, we need to cement ourselves firmly in there. Second, third, and then we got to see where we go from there, depending on who's here, So Carrick could be the guy that, listen, maybe doesn't win, but maybe he stabilizes us to a certain level. And even maybe Ancelotti or, Tuchel or something like that, where it just puts us in a good place for the next 2 to 3 seasons, 2 to 3 years. And then we have to take the next step from after that. So people get a bit carried away with Don's eyebrows or cigar smoking and him relying on Modric's masterclass or Ronaldo clutch moments in the Champions League. Well, I mean, people are people. They do get sort of carried away with what I would say is sort of the wrong things. But people thought Jose would be guaranteed success, a title within 2 years. People said managers do have a shelf life, in my opinion. Yeah, but this is the thing. I don't view Jose the same as Carlo. I don't think they are the same. And to be fair to Jose, the club didn't do right by him anyway, and he's still our most successful manager post Sir Alex Ferguson. So, and he did have that statement that, him finishing second and winning the Europa League was one of his greatest achievements. And which myself included, many of us were quite pissed because we sort of saw it at that time as something that was sort of beneath us and not acceptable to the standards. But, he was right to a certain degree because of the way the football club is run. And the football club did not do right by Jose. I didn't necessarily like the football we played, but they didn't do right by him. They didn't do right by the way they operated it. They didn't do right by basically leaving him out. They didn't do right by hanging him out to dry in that going into that third season, which ultimately led to failure and him losing his job. So didn't push on. So. I don't, but Mourinho's brand of football is different to Ancelotti's football, and I think Mourinho's football is something that doesn't really exist quite well in today's game. I think Ancelotti's does work. in today's time. So I don't really see it the same. I don't see them the same. But listen, we'll find out. I mean, it's out of our hands anyway. So, I mean, we're not making the decision. I mean, maybe fans will put pressure on Ineos. But I think as we've seen before, Ineos don't really care too much about that. I mean, there was many people basically asking for Amrim's head. The only reason why they sacked Ruben was because he said bad things about them. They didn't sack him because, you know, sort of in defiant of a lot of the fans that were asking for him to be sacked. They were planning to stick with him, and they didn't sack him based on results. So, or based on the controversies with Mano or whatever else was going on in the squad. But listen, there's a couple things. All right, let's talk about sort of the West Ham match. All right, let's talk about the match at hand in more in depth. All right, I'll do the little streaks that we usually do. Okay, I'll do the little streaks that we do. Sadiq says Jose is a checkbox manager like Pep, checkbook manager. Sorry, like Pep, but he can play different style of football. Although he was boring to watch. Yeah, I mean, like, listen, I didn't like the football. It was like too defensive, too counterattacking, too negative. I mean, he made a career off of it, defense first, you know, strong defenses, you know, winning things at Chelsea, Inter Milan, even what he did at FC Porto. You know, I wouldn't really say he's a checkbook manager like Pep, because Pep is like the ultimate checkbook manager. Pep has never had to build anything without excessive amounts of money and excessive transfers. You know, Mourinho has had moments where he does accomplish things with, you know, with a certain level of money. And what he did at Porto was, you know, they didn't have money. So, and that sort of kicked off his career. But Reynosa says Carlo has delivered at different clubs in different leagues in different decades. Mourinho's fallen off and hasn't quite found it again. Different people. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I think their path is like two different things. You know, it's quite different to me. So, but we'll see. We'll see. I mean, listen, we don't know what's going to happen necessarily. I guess we'll find out the further we go along. But let's sort of get into this, and then I guess we'll get back into a little bit of the news. But hand in hand, some of the quotes. Let me pull up these quotes, by the way, because we need to pull up the quotes for Carrick. But you know what? All right, before we do that, just real quick, because there was like one or two updates from somebody else, not Gary Neville, but they were talking about sort of Carrick. And this was Mark Ogden saying Carrick is only in charge until the end of the season. That may change if results continue to be impressive, but United are determined to hire a proven coach who can make the team challenge for the Premier League and the UEFA Champions League titles again, and Carrick's experience to date would ordinarily rule him out. Tuchel and Ancelotti stands out as the strongest options. Both have Premier League experience with Chelsea, and both have won the Champions League at least once, but securing either would require moves before the World Cup starts in June, which could prove problematic. Sources say United are in no rush to appoint, which could help Carrick, but the hierarchy must soon make a choice and nail down their top target. Most likely outcome, Carrick gets the job permanently, says Mark Ogden. And that's what he believes. So, interesting update there. I mean, it is a bit difficult of a thing to do because, again, that World Cup is sort of a hindrance. So it's a bit tricky. You know, you can't necessarily wait till after the World Cup, because what if Tuchel go very deep into it? You're going to be waiting until mid-July. You got to wait for it to end, the World Cup. Then you got to bring them in, sit them down, you know, hash out sort of all the details, sign them up, and then they got to get to work. You know, so it's a bit of a difficult one. How, you know, I'm sure they're focused on the World Cup. They're prepping and stuff. How available are they going to be? How willing are they going to be to have discussions to take over a job? You know, listen, it's happened before. It's not like it's an impossible thing. You can make an agreement with somebody that they will do the World Cup, and then after the World Cup, they will come, and you can announce that in, you know, mid-June or something before the World Cup actually kicks off. You can have that locked down and ready to go. So now maybe is the period of time, because, you know, they'll have a couple internationals on the way. They are prepping, but they should have some time somewhere in their schedule that you should be able to, hold talks with them on that. A proven coach is nonsense. They've all failed here so far. I don't think it's necessarily nonsense. There's a certain level of a manager, but every manager has failed because the way this football club is run. So, I do think that there's sort of a different level. I mean, again, if you look at Mourinho, he's done the best. Well, he had a certain CV. And I think out of all the managers we had, off of his CV, he's the best one. He accomplished the most. He was the better manager. I think he was better than Louis van Gaal. We bring in Ten Hag. We had Ali. They don't match up with his CV. They don't match up with his experience. They don't match up with what he's done. So I think that there is an argument for a certain level of manager that is sort of experienced or proven to a certain degree. I do think that aspect that definitely does play in. It's not the be all and end all though, because again, you can get the most proven, most experienced manager. You could get the best manager in the world right now, stick him in there. But if the club doesn't do what the club is supposed to be doing, player recruitment, proper player recruitment, backing the manager properly, sticking to, sort of the plan, well then it'll all fall apart. I mean, they're not gods. They don't do miracles. They're not going to turn water into wine. It goes hand in hand. You need the guy, you need the manager, the head coach, whoever it is. You need the football club to do their thing. So, but a proven guy more experienced guy, there's benefits to having him. Obviously, they've been through sort of this thing before. They do maybe know how to handle situations and players better. So, I think it's not too far fetched, but I wouldn't say you bring in Ancelotti or Tuchel, they've won Champions Leagues and it's guaranteeing us a Champions League. I wouldn't say that either, because I think you bring in that guy, there's still a lot of work the club has to do on their end anyway. So, and it comes down to them as well. So if they don't do what they're supposed to do, then nobody here will succeed regardless. Lucky says, I didn't see any other clubs. We don't have no money. First, go sell lesser players, invest in Premier League, La Liga players that want to play Manchester United. Well, listen, I need these things. Where is? Okay, Michael Carrick. Here we go. So Carrick on the team news. All right, let's talk a little bit about West Ham. Let's do the preview. Thank you to everybody that smashed the like button. Greatly appreciated. If you didn't, please do so. It is massive help and we greatly appreciate it. Michael Carrick on the team news. He did his press conference presser for the West Ham match tomorrow. He said Mason Mount probably not fit for Tuesday, probably after, but definitely going into the Everton game, he'll be back, which makes sense because we have that sort of 2-week break. So you would expect Mason Mount to be back. He's not going to be, and I didn't expect him to be, part of the team for tomorrow. And it doesn't look like he's going to be, from the update from Carrick. So Mount's still out. And De Ligt, again, he said, we'll see how he develops over the Everton game. Feels like a long time away at the moment, so we'll see how he develops, but he's positive, moving in the right direction, but Mason's a little bit closer than him. So sort of the same update again, that he gave a few days ago. Mount should be back soon. He's going to be back before De Ligt. De Ligt's still in limbo, and I talked about this, the other time. I think De Ligt has missed 12 matches. 13 was Tottenham, 14 will be this one, and if he doesn't make it back for Everton, that'll be 15, and that's, it's unfortunate because it's a lot of matches, and he was supposed to be originally out. The first update they ever gave us, he was going to be out for like 2-3 weeks. He's been out for like over 2 months now, so I feel really bad because I rate him. He's a good player. I want him back in, but it is a bit of concern. Because, again, we can't rely on a player that these things will happen to. And, De Ligt is one, Mount is one. Maguire has his issues here and there where, he's fit, but then he goes missing for 5 to 6 weeks. But listen, Maguire, I can understand because Maguire is like, he's on the back end of his career. He's 31, 32, however old he is. Mount's not that old, and De Ligt's definitely not that old. So it's things we got to watch. It's things we got to take concern. Hopefully, this is sort of doesn't reoccur next season, because if it reoccurs next season for De Ligt and he's missing this many matches, and he'll miss more matches because we'll be playing more games. But if he's out for this extended period of time, we got to start thinking twice of what to do, because we can't have somebody like that in the team. You're no good to us if you're not reliable. And I've always said that for any player. I don't play favorites with this sort of thing. It's the same thing for Shaw. It's the same thing for Mount. It's the same thing for any player. If it's a reoccurring thing where you are, or it's increasing from season to season and you're missing more matches, you're more time out, well, we have to really look at that and make a decision on, we can't really have you at this football club because you're no good to us if you're not available. You could have all the talent in the world, but if we're losing you for 2+ months, sort of out of something that wasn't supposed to take this long, you're not reliable, unfortunately. It's sad, but, it is what it is. So, no De Ligt, no Mount. Everybody else is there, except for maybe one player. And we'll see if we got any updates on that. Tyler Fletcher is traveling to London with the Manchester United squad ahead of tomorrow's game against West Ham. So Tyler Fletcher will be part of that. The sort of the confirmed traveling squad that we got here, okay? Lemons, Bayender, Tom Heaton, Diogo Dalot, Maz, Harry, Maguire, Lisandro Martinez, Aiden Heaven, Luke Shaw, Tyrell Malacia, Casemiro, Manuel Ugarte, Kobe Mainu, Tyler Fletcher, Bruno Fernandes, Mateus Cunha, Ahmad, Joshua Zirkzee, Brian Mbeumo, and Benjamin Sesko. Now, you may have noticed that there is no Lenny Yoro. So I don't know. We don't know what's gone on with Lenny Yoro. Carrick did not necessarily update us in the press conference about Lenny Yoro. He wasn't asked about Lenny Yoro. He didn't mention Lenny Yoro, but it seems like Lenny Yoro has not traveled with the squad. So I don't know if Lenny Yoro has picked up a knock or something. There has been these times where maybe a player has come on his own later on for whatever reason, but it seems like Lenny won't be part of the team as we know right now, because they just said that he hasn't traveled with them, and we have no update on it, and I don't see an update here about that. So hopefully, if he has gotten some sort of an injury, it's not too bad for Lenny, because that would be unfortunate, because he's sort of taken a back seat, him and Heaven, he just won't be available, so it's just less of a chance for Lenny to get some game time. And we are down sort of a centre back. We're down De Ligt right now, and we'll be down Yoro, and we'll have Heaven. But it's not ideal, because, what if one of our centre backs gets injured? One of Martinez or Maguire, what if they get injured? We're going to have to put Heaven in. We're sort of down to 2 centre backs. So it's not ideal. Not ideal at all. But we'll see what happens with that. We have literally received no update in terms of Lenny. So don't know if he's injured or not. Don't know, maybe he's sick. Could be. Won't be bad. Now, quick thing on West Ham, and I sort of expect basically the same lineup. There could be maybe a change with Mbeumo. Maybe he doesn't start. Maybe he starts. Maybe it's the same exact lineup. There is a bit of a question mark over there. I think that's the only one in terms of, is it going to be Mbeumo? Is it going to be Sesko? I think that's the only thing. But I think everybody else is going to start. There's not going to be any changes. It's going to be Lemons, Dalot, Maguire, Martinez, Shaw, Casemiro, Ahmad, Bruno, Cunha, and then we'll see with Mbeumo. We can't underestimate West Ham, like I was saying. They're 18th. They're fighting relegation. They got something to fight for. Okay, it's not done and dusted. Sometimes when you corner an animal, when you corner an animal into the corner, I know that sounds stupid, but when you put them in a corner, sometimes they go a bit crazy, right? They get a bit feral. They get a bit out of control. So their back is a little bit against the wall there. They need results. They need points. They are sort of fighting for something, and teams that are facing that sort of relegation fight, they do always sort of turn up, especially at home. So, we got to be careful of counterattacks, set pieces for sure. West Ham are definitely going to try and hit us with set pieces. That's definitely their main threat. I do fully expect a low block. I expect us to probably have most of the possession. I don't expect them to dictate the game. We're going to need patience, and we're going to need good play to sort of unlock them, okay? We've played them before. I don't expect them to play really any different than when we played them when we were home. And I think they'll do the same. They're not going to be looking to give up an easy goal against us. A point will be good for them against us, considering the positions, okay? They'll sort of live to fight another day and go and find 3 points somewhere else. They are going to want to stick into the game as long as possible. They do not want to go down early. They do not. What they want, what their game plan is going to be, is to try and frustrate us and stop us from scoring. Keep it 0-0 for as long as possible. Maybe you get, a goal from a set piece or a goal from a cross or something like that. And put yourselves up and then defend that lead as much as possible and try and hit us on a counter again or from a set piece again. So I expect them to make it tough. We know what Nuno does. We know Nuno ball. Okay. So our goal is to obviously try and negate that. We need to score first. If we concede first, it's going to be a lot tougher for us, and it's going to make the job a lot worse than it needs to be. So our goal is score first and score as early as possible. Get them to open up a bit. Get them out of their shell. You know what I mean? And hopefully we get more space out of that, and we exploit it. And we hit them, for another one, and then we have to go and kill the game off. I get nervous at the 2-0s. So we get 1, I'll be all right. We get the 2, and then we need to push for the 3, and we need to kill the game if we can do that. So we need to score first. If they score first, we got to stick to the plan, though. We got to keep probing. We got to do our thing. We got to take our opportunities. We need to be clinical. We need to put good balls into the box, pass the ball around, move it well. They're not necessarily keeping clean sheets right now. So while I do expect them to be compact and a low block, they haven't. It's not like they've succeeded in keeping the ball out of the net. So we need to do the ultimate job on that. But a little bit of a more just sort of standard streaks. Okay, there are form obviously for us. We are unbeaten in 5. All right. I think our 8 is sort of like what is it? It's indirectly it's 5 wins and 3 draws, I believe we have. So we're sort of unbeaten in 8. Okay, the last 5 we have a draw and 4 straight wins. We're trying to go for the 5th, and then West Ham, they have in their last 5 they got a loss, 2 wins, a loss, and a win. And they just came off their last win. Head to head in the last 10 matches, West Ham have won 4. We've drawn against each other once, and Manchester United have won 5. All right. Now, individual team streaks. United are on 4 wins, of course. For West Ham, 6 out of their 8 last matches, there's been at least 3 goals in the match. Okay, 5 out of the 6 last games for West Ham, both teams have scored. 6 out of the 8 last games for Manchester United, both teams have scored. 6 out of 6 of West Ham's matches, their last 6 out of 6 matches, they've scored the first goal. 6 out of 6 of their last matches, they've won the first half, meaning that they've gone into halftime with the lead. All right. Which is something that we're going to have to we're going to have to win there. We're going to have to win there. We can't let them score first. Okay. And they are on a direct run of 6 out of 6 matches of scoring first and winning the first half. So, we need to break that cycle. We need to break that cycle for them. We need to score the first goal. We need to take the lead. We need to get them out of their shell. All right. Head to head, United have had no clean sheets in 4 matches against West Ham in the last 4 times that we've played them. So we'll see, because, you know, we did keep a clean sheet against Spurs, but we haven't managed to necessarily keep and we kept a clean sheet against City, but we didn't keep a clean sheet against Fulham. We didn't keep a clean sheet against Arsenal. So we've sort of been 50-50 on those. And all indications is that this game will be a game where it will be at the very least a 2-1, a 3-1, maybe a 3-2 or something like that. Something like that. They will score on us. We will score on them. And that's why, you know, ultimately we got to go out and score as many goals as possible, because I think they have a good chance to get one against us. I don't know if we'll get a clean sheet in this. I hope we do. That would be really good, because as you can see by the indicating of the trends for them, they have been scoring and they are home. So if we manage to pull out a clean sheet, it's excellent. And we've gone there and we've really turned up and we've played to a high level. I would expect to do so. So, you know, we played them, and I don't know if they counted this in the stat. I mean, they shouldn't, but we played them in the club friendly. Okay. We beat them 2-1. All right. That was 2025. But in the last 3 sort of Premier Leagues, we obviously tied them 1-1 back in December. Okay. And then, is that December? Yeah, December. Back in December. And last year, they beat us 2-0. We were at home, and they were home and they beat us 2-1. So, X says, look, I have to go. I need to go to sleep. Wish me good luck on my driving to work tomorrow. Good luck. Remember, be like F1. F1 driver. All right. Good luck. Good night. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for being part of the show, Axe. Appreciate it. Chat, what do you guys think for the match? What do you think we're gonna do? What do you think the score line's gonna be? Score predictions. What do you think we're gonna do? I think another one. I would say I'm betting on us to win it. I'll say 2-1. I think it's going to be a tight match. I don't think we'll roll up there and beat them 3-0. Or any scoreline above that. Maybe a 3-1 would be nice in our favor. But I think it's going to be I think it's going to be a bit of a tough, tight game. So I feel like right now my gut's sort of telling me 2-1. If we're going to do it, I think it'll be a 2-1 sort of match. Now, you heard breaking news. Well, who is it from? And what's it about? Hopefully 2 or 3 players missing from West Ham. Well, they are missing some players, yes. So, they do have some players out. They do have Fabianski out. Todibo is suspended, and I think they have 1 or 2 other players that'll be out. Sadiq says 3-0 to United, and Reynosa says 3-1 to us. All right, fair play. I don't know if we're going to do that. I don't feel like that's going to happen, but if it happens, obviously I'll be really happy about it. So, Axe says good night. Glaze is out. Yeah, Glaze is out. Good night, buddy. So, I mean, we'll see. You know, they're going to line up, and I mean, they've sort of been playing a 4-4-1-1, so it's going to be similar to us. I mean, we sort of play a 4-2-3-1 is basically a 4-4-1-1 as well. It's sort of the same setup. Theirs is a bit more flat. Ours is a bit more triangular shaped, I guess, or rhombus shaped to a certain degree. So I think it's going to be an interesting battle. You know, Souček, Mateus Fernandez are two good center mids. You know, Bowen is always a threat. Somerville's been playing good as well. So their midfield quite good. Disasi has been playing well for them at center back. You know, even Castellanos has been all right. He's been all right. But we, our players have been playing good as well. I mean, you look at our team, like Bruno's been playing excellent, and Buemo, Martinez, Kobe's been doing well, Diallo's been doing good, Cunha. So Somerville, John Claire Todibo, Sakosha suspended. John Claire Todibo is suspended for sure. And Fabianski, their goalkeeper, he's out injured. So we have Dorgu out, Delit out, and Mount out, and probably Lenioro out. So I do see there has been some breaking news since we've gone live, because we've been live for an hour and 15, and some news has broken about an hour ago. So basically when we started this. So we will hit that. I think it's updates about Sandro Tonali, if you are interested. Real quick, one update that we did get a few hours ago was that AS Roma interested in signing Joshua Zirkzee this summer, with the Dutch forward currently valued at £22 million. So, again, I think he is definitely one that, for the summer, could be gone. I think he'll be out of here. I think out of the players that you're sort of looking that could be moved on, I think he's definitely one. Ugarte's definitely one. Still question marks over Bruno, but I think the club want to hold on to him. But it's up to him as well. And I guess it's up to whoever the manager is as well. If they come in and they're okay with Bruno going, then they're okay with Bruno going. If they want to keep Bruno, they'll obviously make their voice clear to the board and to Bruno about that. So I think that'll have an impact. So, we'll see about that. Sadiq says, I like Tonali. I like Tonali too. He's had some issues, some controversies. But that's not always the be all and end all. I'm just trying to find the updates. I don't know where. Okay, hold on. I gotta refresh this. All right. So, few updates here. Sandro Tonali, this was breaking news, okay? Because we did get an update earlier in the day. All right. Much earlier. It might have came from yesterday. But there was some talk about Tonali. Where is it? Where is the first one? The first one, I don't know. The aggregators drive me crazy. Some of them have it, some of them don't. I gotta go searching for it. Okay, so here, this was February 8th, so this was yesterday, okay? So the one update that was from yesterday from Tonali was United have put Sandro Tonali high on their short list ahead of the summer midfield rebuild at Old Trafford. Then they also said Italian midfielder who wants a guarantee of Champions League football would command a fee in the region of £100 million. Again, I rate him. I don't think he's £100 million. Okay, if I compare him to Declan Rice was £100 million. I don't think Tonali is the level of Declan Rice. So, not to say that he's bad or anything like that, but again, Declan Rice does everything. The guy does everything. Defends, attacks, can shoot, can cross, can pass. He does it all. He has good speed, good mobility, good strength. He's got it all. I don't think I would say Tonali's got it all. So I don't know, but I think also Newcastle are going to play this game. They don't want to lose Tonali. They're in a position where they're going to lose some players. They're going to try and get the most money. Also, Tonali is a good player. We're not the only team that's going to be interested in it. They do want probably a bidding war to get the highest price. Maybe he does go for $100 million. So, breaking news. United still interested in Baleba and monitoring Anderson. Yeah. Breaking news for the past 7 months straight. United want Baleba and they like Anderson and also Warden. Breaking news. Every day it's breaking news. Warden, Baleba, and Anderson. No, I'm happy that there's a name like Tonali. It gives us something to sort of talk about. Sadiq says 60 to 80 million for Tonali. Listen, I think that's fair. Listen, he's a good player. He plays for a Premier League club. I don't think you can really say anything else. 60, 80 million. I would advise from paying the 100 because I just think 100 million fees that's sort of the highest fee you pay, and I don't think we should ever be in a position where we pay the highest fee possible. I think above that is insane, and you got to be paying for, I think for somebody like, maybe like a Lamine Yamal would make sense because of who he is at his age and where he's at and, the hype and the potential. It would make sense, but it's like, I don't even think those things are, I don't even like sort of like, Liverpool paid that amount of money over the top for Wirtz. I'm like, you probably could have got 2 guys that are very similar to him, split that money up, and you have 2 sort of top tier players. I don't really like those. I think it's always a huge gamble to do that sort of thing because if it doesn't work out, you're going to lose massive amount of money, and ultimately, a player that you thought was going to be sort of like the ringer for your team has now become a player that is not good enough and has left quite a hole in our team and has left us a hole in our pocket as well. But the latest update that we have, okay, the one that we just got now, that was from yesterday, okay, the one that we just got now, let me see if I find like sort of the full thing because they've sort of broken it up into pieces here, which I don't like that they do, but they want their clicks. They want their clicks. They want their interactions on their post. So one update that we got here. This is from Fabrizio. Fabrizio has given us this update saying, United appreciates Sandro Tonali, but he's not the only midfielder on the list. United will wait to see if they qualify for the Champions League and who the manager will be. Under Amorim, the preferred option was Carlos Baleba. United could sign 2 midfielders in the summer. From Fabrizio. The other update, also from Fabrizio, says internally, Sandro Tonali is appreciated at Manchester United, but no decision on the priority target yet, with several names on the list, which kind of makes sense for now. So, yeah, United seeing if they're going to make Champions League, which they better do so. And if we make Champions League, we do expect us to take some sort of significant steps and deals. I mean, listen, it does make us more attractive. It will make players more willing to come to us. It does give us a better fight against some other clubs, okay? Listen, Liverpool have had sort of prior success while we've been struggling, but, they've gone a bit sideways, and, maybe you think twice about them. City are still up there, but they're not as high as they once were, and there's question marks over Pep's future, so there's uncertainty there. The only ones that are really in super pole position is Arsenal, because they look set to win the league. If they win the league, Arteta has been the manager there for 6 years. There's been the consistency and the concurrence there, and they're the only ones that will be able, and depends what they do in the Champions League as well, they'll be the only ones that really say, well, look, we're at the highest point right now. We're at the sort of at the peak right now. We are the strongest team. So everybody else is sort of a little bit all over the place, and there's question marks all over. So it kind of puts us in a bit more of a level playing field, because we'll be in Champions League. We can offer them that. We can sell them, we can sell them the project a little bit better. And then obviously it depends on the manager. I mean, again, if you have somebody like Carlo, you can definitely sell the project a lot better. Okay, look at the manager we got. We're in Champions League. We're going to be making X, Y, and Z moves to get these types of players in. Our aim is to get, the Premier League in 2 seasons from now. We want you to be the main part of it, blah, 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 and all this other stuff. So, you could definitely turn the tables, okay? There's definitely a difference between if we're in Europa League. It's hard to sell them that we're going to go and push for the Premier League and ultimately win it when we're in Europa League. We'll go into Champions League. We're going to be in the highest level competition. It just makes us look better. It makes us look better, makes us more attractive, and we can fight for deals like this. Tonali, Elliot Anderson, and whoever else maybe is available as well. So, Renosa says, I agree, 60 with add-ons. Well, the thing is, maybe in a normal situation, if the problem is that, like, I think 60 is probably low. The reason why 60 is low is because there will be other clubs in for him, and he is a good. So I think if he goes, I wouldn't be surprised if it's like for 70, 80. I think 80 is probably right in the middle. It's between 60. It's between 100. I think 80 probably is probably most likely what will happen, because I mean, if we're in for him, if Arsenal's in for him, which it's Tonali's agent offered him to Arsenal and to Berta. They didn't make a move in January, but maybe it's one that they go and make a move for, in the summer. Maybe Chelsea gets involved, maybe City get involved, maybe Liverpool get involved. Once you have a few of these teams, like, even if there's 3 or 4 of us involved in this, you ain't getting him for 60, and it could very well go to 100, but it'll probably land somewhere around 80. I think that's probably realistic. So they got a couple things going on there at Newcastle. It's going to be quite interesting. Again, they have the most money out of everybody, but they literally can't spend it, and they have issues, financially. And Eddie Howe, my father's been telling me this, but it seems like maybe Eddie Howe gets sort of relieved of his duties there, sacked, or whatever it is, mutual termination, mutual agreement to part ways. So it might be a little bit of a sort of a restart coming at Newcastle. People like Anthony Gordon apparently might be out of there as well. And maybe a couple others. Bruno Guimaraes has been mentioned. So then, that's 3 big players for Newcastle has popped up over the last week or so. Anthony Gordon, Tonali, and Bruno Guimaraes. It's a bit like, sort of a rebuild is coming in, and shifting things around. So, Renosa says, yeah, if it's a bidding war, I agree. I'm giving his true valuation, though. Yeah, I get you. Arsenal, though, I don't know. Don't they have 2 6s already at the club? They do. But, and maybe it's less likely, and maybe that's why they didn't feel like they want to do it. But listen, as a football club, you're always looking to improve, and you got to make the best sort of decision for your team. And, if somebody like Tonali comes in and you think he's a better fit than somebody else you got in, well, you move that other player on, you get him in, and you reorganize going forward. Because if they win the Premier League, okay, to go from that point, everybody else that's under you that didn't win the Premier League, they're going to look to strengthen to go and win the Premier League next season. You got to keep a certain level. So they could be in for him. They could make a move like that. I wouldn't expect it. I think a top club, that's a club that's operating properly, that's serious, that wants to continue winning things, you must evaluate and look at all sorts of options. And you shouldn't be, just because you have somebody there. I'm never in the opinion that should stop you from going somebody and getting somebody better. It's a bit like dating, which is, some people feel differently about this. But listen, you might have somebody, it might be a girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. I don't know, for any of the females or whatever you do in your life. Okay, but you might have somebody, and they might be good at one level. Maybe at some point you meet somebody else, and they're just way better. And it's like, well, I don't know. I don't really believe in that. You shouldn't go for the thing that's at a better level just because you have something there. I mean, ultimately, it's your life. You got to make your decision. But If it's gonna better you, if you definitely know it's gonna be better for your life and you're gonna have a better life for it, why would you sort of stay? You know, some people will say loyalty or whatever, but I don't think that's necessarily disloyal. I think it's just how things go. You know, there's always things out there that are better. You know, you could be at a job. You might be okay with the job. You might not necessarily be disgruntled. You might be sort of happy. You might like the people you work with. People leave their jobs all the time to go to a different job. Why? Because it's better pay, better hours. It works better for their schedule. Maybe they get to see their family more, whatever it is. You know, so we'll see how that goes. Sandro Tonali interest in club top 5 joining. Well, there was also an update that on Tonali that he would maybe like to go back to Italy. So maybe he doesn't even go to any Premier League club and he ends up going back to Italy. There is always maybe a possibility with that. Maybe that's a bit of the media doing media things because he's Italian. And there's not too many sort of Italians in the Premier League, and a lot of the Italians do play in the Italian league, and they sort of stick to stay at home, you know? So, you know, maybe there's truth to that. Maybe it's just a bit of, you know, speculation because he's Italian, and it's like, you know, something easy to write that, oh, the Italian would like to go back to Italy. You know, I don't know. Like, so we'll see how that goes. And I think that was sort of only the breaking news that we got. It's definitely about Tonali. We did get this update also. This is a little bit different sort of gear here, okay? But there was some discussions that Manchester United were maybe potentially going to play some sort of mid-season friendlies because we do have that gap. Like whoever brought it up, I forgot. I apologize, but whoever brought it up, talking about, I think it was Box, that we had about 2 to 3 weeks off at some point, and that was the point that we were looking to maybe schedule some preseason friendlies, you know, to keep us going. And Hurst class, who is Paul Hurst, top journalist, okay, said Manchester United will not play a friendly in the Middle East this month. A warm weather training camp was also considered, but the club decided against it. The squad will instead get 4 days of rest before returning to Carrington to prepare for Everton. So we were looking to do something in sort of this period of time where we do have 2 weeks off, but it is not happening. So I ultimately, listen, I think it's fine because to me it's an indication that we're doing things for what they have deemed proper footballing reasons, okay? There was always the incentive to go do some sort of friendly there, make a little bit of money, like we did at the end of last season, where we finished that shit campaign, and then we went and go play 2 matches that nobody wanted to play, and nobody really wanted us. You know, the players didn't want to do it. We didn't really want to watch it. We wanted it over. You know what I mean? And they had this sort of opportunity to do it in the middle of the season, and they decided not to do it, which indicates to me that, you know, the ultimate decision was that it's not best footballing-wise. So that's good, because that means that we're not pimping ourselves out, and we're not desperate for money, okay? You know, Ineos can kind of say, or, you know, we can get these updates that, you know, we're... maybe we won't spend a whole lot of money and stuff like that. Again, I think we're sort of playing a little bit of the victim publicly, like we did last season, where Sir Jim said we were going broke, and if we didn't win the Europa League and we didn't qualify for Champions League, we were going to sell. We had to sell to buy first, and we weren't going to be able to spend a lot of money, and we still spent a decently good amount of money. And we got, you know, good transfers in, and we did what we had to do. And not even necessarily with the selling of players. You know, we got Cunha, Buemo, and Sesko, and Lemons. We did all that without actual selling of players. All right, we did a couple deals, but, you know, the Rashford thing isn't guaranteed, okay? And it's still yet to be seen if that's going to pay off for us. Rasmus, the same thing, like we sent him on loan, That one's a bit more guaranteed, but we haven't actually received the money from that or anything. The process of that hasn't gone on because that takes into effect at the end of the season. Onana is just a straight loan, so we ended up spending money anyway. So, and I think it would be like, if we were so desperate for money, if we was actually in such a bad financial situation that it was going to be really hard to spend money this summer, I think they definitely would have taken every opportunity to go to the Middle East to play some preseason, some sort of friendly just to make a little bit of extra cash, and help out. The fact that we seem to be in a position where we're like, yeah, we can pass up on that. It's fine. It's not worth it for footballing reasons or whatever. It's not. Why travel and do all this crazy stuff and come back and do that? We'll just give the players off. Indicates to me we're in a good position. For that. So, Renoso says, yeah, the point is maybe he wants to be a starter where he would most definitely be benched by Zubamendi Rice. But enough said, maybe he misses real tomatoes and goes home. The real tomato sauce, A1 stuff. Listen, the Italians, they make the food. Can't go wrong, man. Pasta, pizza, even meat like steak and stuff, sausages. A1, fresh stuff. Being an American, okay, some things that you learn, all right, because we have Italian American or American Italian here, okay, quite different. You go to Italy, all right, you will not find chicken Alfredo. Doesn't exist. All right, had to learn that the hard way. You go to a restaurant in Italy, there is no dish that has the pasta and chicken together. They are separate dishes. In America, you go to an Italian restaurant here, they got all sorts of stuff in the dishes, okay? It's not the same. And also, the Italians, very strict with their food, all right? Like here in America, we go get a steak, usually get some sort of sauce that comes with it, all right? Steak sauce, right? You go to a restaurant in Italy, you order some, like, filet, all right? Don't ask them for sauce. They get very offended by it, and two, they won't give it to you, all right? They literally will not give it to you. They consider it, they consider it sort of a disrespect to the chef that you are putting sauce on the dish that they cooked to add extra flavor or whatever it is, okay? So they will not, I had to learn this. I was there and I was like, I want a little bit of sauce because, sometimes the chefs do cook it a little bit, it's a little bit dry or something like that, so you need the sauce, or maybe the flavor's not that great. I asked him, I said, listen, you got some sauce? She's like, no. She's like, you can't have sauce with that. I said, what do you mean? She's like, the chef prepares it in the sauce that he cooks it in. It's like a wine oil sauce. That's the sauce you get. That's it. There's no steak sauce. There's no barbecue, so you don't eat it with that sort of stuff. So, let's talk food. What are we making tomorrow? Well, I am getting hungry because I haven't eaten. So, we do have a little bit left in the show. All right. A couple more things that we need to discuss. Okay. And get through. And then we'll be done and we'll be live for the watch along tomorrow. So make sure you come by, even if you don't stick around for the whole watch along. All right. Stop by. We'll be live an hour before the match kicks off, talking, waiting. We'll talk about the lineups. We'll go live basically right when the lineups come out. We'll talk about the lineup. We'll do the pre-match build. Then we'll obviously be live for the whole match, and then we'll be live again to sort of round up and get everybody's sort of comments, thoughts, and opinions on how the match went, and we'll discuss it like we usually do. So, now in my thing that I was looking at, where are we? Where's my stuff? Carrick did say on West Ham, he said, I think they're very good on transition, very dangerous. I talked about that. We got to watch out for the counterattacks. They've got some really good attacking players. We've looked at them already and have an idea of that, as they would have done for us. but they're a threat. And when they get up ahead of steam at home, they're a dangerous team. So definitely got to be ready to cope with all that. And that's sort of the biggest thing. You know what I mean? That's sort of the biggest thing. Again, I don't expect them to lay down. I don't expect it to be an easy match. I don't necessarily want it to be an easy match, but I do want us to come out on top. I do want us to perform excellently well. I want us to be at, the highest level we possibly can. And, just play some beautiful football, score some beautiful goals, and be exciting and be clinical and be, sort of what we've done. Physical, strong. There's been sort of an onus in the team. We've been a lot more of bullies on the pitch, pushing people around and, not taking shit from them. And that's what I've wanted to see from the team a long time. They've seemed to sort of grasp this concept now under Carrick, and they've been showing it in every match that we played so far. So we need to bring that for sure. Listen, if we turn up in that match and that sort of stuff is missing, I'll be very concerned, and I think we're going to be in a bit of trouble. We can't get out muscled, okay? We can't get out bullied. We need to be tough, especially with people like Souček and stuff like that. These are big guys, strong, tough guys. We need to be in there battling. We need to be in there fighting with them as much as possible. Try and throw them around. Go into tackles hard. Be smart about it. Don't get red cards. Don't, do a flying kick into his chest or something like that. But, when you can, where you can, where it's not stupid, give the guy a push, throw him to the ground. Go hard on him in a tackle, win the ball, but hard tackle, get him to the ground. Make the presence felt. Get in their head a little bit, mess with them and stuff like that. So, Lucky says I like potato waffles, chicken taka. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. I've had it before a couple times. I don't know if I pronounce it right, chicken taka. I don't know if I pronounce it right. I don't know if I ever pronounce it right, but yeah, I've had it before. I've had it. It's good stuff. Good stuff. I'm going to go eat right after this, and then I'm going to go work out, and then my day literally consists of that stuff, and then later on at night, I have to prep for all the stuff tomorrow. I got to make the thumbnails, got to prep the thumbnails and get them ready and stuff like that. Got to get the badges, set all that stuff up, come up with an idea of, how I'm going to lay it out and stuff like that. So, there was a couple other interesting stuff that I saw randomly, today, but I don't know where they are. I hate this. I wish I need to start bookmarking them. That's my thing. Okay, because what happens is I during the day I go on my phone, I read all the stuff, okay, and it gets laid out in a certain way. Things pop up, maybe necessarily from accounts that I don't necessarily follow, and I'm like, oh, that's good. I'll bring that up into the show, and then when I go do the show, I forget who posted it or where it is, and then like it's bad to look at it during the show because I killed the momentum of the conversation, and I don't really like to do it. So I need to start bookmarking it so that I could go into the bookmarks from my phone account onto my computer account, and then I just have everything there. A little bit further down. Further down. I did see this post. Somebody was saying, remember when they were saying Matheus Cunha could only thrive in a 3-4-3? I don't know who said that. He's got 2 goals and 1 assist in 189 minutes since then. I don't know. Who was saying that? There was people in our fan base saying that he could only thrive in a 3-4-3. I don't know who was saying that, but put the football manager down or something. I don't know what to tell you. Okay? Interesting, a little bit of a good stat here. No player made more ball recoveries, 7, or interceptions versus Spurs than Lisandro Martinez. Our butcher is back, yeah? I've loved this guy since we got him in. He's actually, and hopefully I don't curse this, so knock on wood, because I've had terrible experiences in recent times with buying kits and players on the back, and he is a player in my lifetime I haven't bought many defensive players, okay? He might be actually the only one. I don't think I didn't even have a Rio kit or a Vidic kit. None of that. I've always had sort of either a midfielder or attacking players because that's the positions I played. So that's who I identified the most with, those sorts of players. Strikers, wingers, midfielders. But Lisandro, when he came, I just identified with the warrior mentality that has that butcher in him. I was like, nah, he's my warrior. You know what I mean? So I actually have the white kit from, I think it was like 2 seasons ago of his. Really nice kit, love it. And he's on the back of it, and he's sort of keeping it alive. Okay, I got a Man Utd one. All right. But I had an Alexis Sanchez one, okay? Can never wear that, ever, okay? That one's on the wall with the name to the back of the wall, never to be seen in public ever again, okay? I bought a Garnacho one, never to be worn in public ever again, okay? So these kits, I spent money on them, I can't even wear them anymore, all right? I had, who else did I have? Oh, I had a Mason Greenwood one. Okay. Can't wear that for obvious reasons. All right. Too controversial. All right. Can't wear that. And plus, the name of the number started like, it started getting all sticky and like peeling off the back. So I can't even wear that. All right. I might get another, I don't want to buy the kits, but maybe I'll figure out how to make sort of my own, because I got a way to make my own. I need to get another Bruno one, because I had a Bruno one. I had that old one, that red, that was like sort of like the bus seat decoration when he was number 18. But that one's sort of peeling from the back as well. So I want to have one that's sustain itself, so that when he leaves this football club, I'll have one, you know, like that. But Martinez, I got a Martinez one and a Mano one. Okay, those two out of the current squad, they're the ones that are sort of like the last ones that I can wear, that I can actually be okay with. Wearing it in public without being a disgrace. Okay, so these two guys are keeping it alive for me. You know, and but. Yeah, I think like Bruno is like probably the only acceptable one. The other ones can't get them until they have to accomplish some sort of significance. No more of this, okay? Because too many times I've spent too much money, and it's all led into sort of disappointment and failure. And then it's like, you know, at the time it seems like a good idea. Then 3 to 4 years later, you're like, yeah, they didn't really turn out to be a good player, did they? And it's like, I wear this kid out in public, I feel like a jackass. So, yeah, we talked about that. Yeah, this was no sign of Lenny Yoro with the Manchester United squad traveling to London. So I don't know what's happened to Lenny. But hopefully he's all right. Nothing serious, you know, nothing serious. Nothing too serious. Where were we? I like these guys. They do half their job. Imagine running an account with all those people and you do half a job. So Bruno said like a day or two ago, he said, I still remember when I told him, Carrick he was talking about last time he was our manager, I was sure that he can become a great manager, and he's showing it. Carrick responded to that and said, yeah, no, I've known Bruno for quite some time, you know. really pretty well. And seeing him the odd time when I've left the club and bumped into him at times, so I've got a really good relationship with him. You know, I understand how much he's a really intelligent footballer. He's bright. He cares a lot for this club. So in terms of that side of it, we all want the same thing, you know. It's obviously nice when players that you respect, as I do with Bruno, a lot says good things about you, but ultimately it's about the team, you know, and getting the best out of the team, and actually that's all working together. So time will tell, you know. It's not about judging how good or successful we are at this moment of time because nothing's really happened yet, you know. He says, you know, a lot. We've hopefully got a lot more to do between now and the end of the season, and we see what happens after that. Well, I think that that sort of does show. I mean, it does sort of show that they do have like a good respect for each other. They do get on quite well. Since Carrick has stepped in here, Bruno has turned up another extra level or two that he wasn't really hitting before. It wasn't to say he was ultimately really bad or really terrible. Obviously, he was playing in a different position as well, and he's playing in his better position. But even the way that he's carrying himself, the way he's playing, you know, you could just tell that Carrick has had like a great effect on the players. There's this very big mutual respect between all of them, and it's been really positive. And they've all stepped up a level, and they're all like, you know, fighting at a higher level for themselves, but for each other as well. I think the unity has gotten stronger between each other as well. So Toby Collier debuted for Hull City yesterday. Gabriel Boncari made his professional debut with Rotherham yesterday. So our youth players going out and playing. It's good. Hopefully they had good matches. I don't know how it went for them necessarily, but I mean, yeah. I mean, listen, we couldn't move to third. Okay. Maybe albeit temporarily, but we have a plus 10 goal difference. Villa have a plus 9. We are going to play actually how is this playing out tomorrow? Who's playing tomorrow? So tomorrow it's Chelsea, Leeds, Everton, Bournemouth, Tottenham, Newcastle, and then West Ham United. So Chelsea versus Leeds. Chelsea home. We would like Leeds to do us a favor because Chelsea are right on top of us, and any dropping of points would be welcome, especially if we go and win. We do need to, you know, sort of keep that in mind as well. Listen, you know, we don't get 3 points. Chelsea get 3 points. Instead of going up to third, we can go down. So, and drop into fifth, which ultimately we don't want to do that. So it's going to be quite important to make sure we do get the job done. There's going to be some pressure, you know. So Chelsea's going to be playing. We start at 8:15 p.m. UK, 3:15 USA time, EST time. But yeah, otherwise, you know, if we win, okay, we'll stay ahead of Chelsea no matter what they do. All right, and then we'll jump Aston Villa because our goal difference is better than them. We'll be tied on points, and then it'll be over to them to see what they do. And they are going to be playing Brighton, and they're home, so you know, could be a bit of a tricky one for them in that regard. All right, I know Brighton haven't performed, you know, probably to the levels that they performed previously. They are in 14th on 31 points. Quite significant way, but it is a bit similar to sort of us playing West Ham. Only thing is Villa are home, but Villa have been sort of slipping up a little bit as well. Okay, so you know, they won 3 in a row, but they had lost to Brentford and they were up a man and they were home, and they just drew Bournemouth 1-1 away from home. So they've dipped a little bit in the past 2 matches. You know, they were even against Salzburg in the Europa League. They were losing 2-0. They came back and won 3-2, but you know, we'll see. So Like he says, Alejandro Martinez wants 2 new-year contract along Bruno Fernandes, Kobe Mainoo. We'll see. We will have to see which players rested ready for West Ham. I think the same team's going to play. Only difference would be in Buemo and for Sesko. But everybody else is going to play. No, there's going to be no changes in the team. There's no need to be changes in the team. Everybody should be rested. You know, we are playing 1 week. One match a week. This one is sort of a bit of a short turnaround, but we do have 2 weeks after this, so everybody should be ready to go. None of them should be tired. We're playing the least amount of matches we've played in a season. All of them should be fresh and fit, to a certain degree. You want players rested. Players rested for what, Lucky? We don't need players rested. The players are rested. The players are rested. They should be rested. They should be able to handle this schedule. We're not playing 2 to 3 weeks, 2 to 3 times a week. They should be rested. They should be ready to go. This one's a bit of a short turnaround. They got 2 weeks on a break, so they can handle this match. We got to keep the winning team rolling. There's no need to switch anybody around. Ugarte should not start over Mainoo or Casemiro. Evan should not come in for either one of the centre backs, and anybody else. Everybody should play. Everybody that's been playing, that's been winning, they should play. They should be able to handle it. There's no reason for them not to play. They're fit. Benjamin Sesko deserves a start. I don't know if I would necessarily argue that. I don't know if I would say that. I don't think maybe he does necessarily deserve a start. Our team has been lining up the way we've been playing. We've been winning, and Buemo has been scoring goals. If he can't play a full amount of time, only if it's a precaution to injury, then obviously, make the switch. But if he's good to go, he should be starting. This is the team that we went with. This is the team that we're playing good with, starting matches. We need to start the same way, and this team has been performing and winning. There's no reason to change anything. Renosa says, I can't recall who was discussing it, but Villa's injuries with their estimated time to finish should negatively affect the rest of the Premier League season, so we can solidify third. Well, we do need to go and make that push for third. So Aiden having Sesko would not give football time. I don't know what that means. Villa. Let me see. They got Tillemans out, Allison, I don't know who that is, John McGinn, Andres Garcia, and Boubacar Kamara. They still have a good amount of their team here. Xerxes, Eric, no minutes, die and press. Well, he had an opportunity to go out on loan, and he's just going to have to wait. He is down the pecking order. And again, I don't really rate him as a striker. So I would find it, if I was in charge, I'd be finding it extremely hard to get him any sort of minutes anyway, because I'm looking at it and I'm like, I would go with Mbeumo. I would go with the way we're playing. If I'm making a change, I'm putting in Sesko. And I don't really like him as a striker. So I wouldn't even necessarily put him at striker. And Bruno is Bruno. And maybe if we're up 3-0, I'll take Bruno out. Put Xerxes in. But these guys just he looks like I don't think he's staying. I don't think he's going to stay. I think the club are going to move on from him. And I think he's going to go. So I don't think he's necessarily part of the plans. you know, he stayed here. I find it a bit interesting because we were always getting those updates talking about he wanted to go out on loan for his best chance to get into the Netherlands squad, and then Ruben was sacked and he decided not to go out on loan and stay, but he hasn't played and he doesn't look like he's going to get much minutes going forward. So I don't really understand that. You know, if you were going to leave in January because you weren't playing and you wanted more minutes to get into the World Cup squad, where was the indication or the proof that you were going to get the match time on the Carrick? Because you were injured, you missed a game, but you're still down the pecking order. So I think he's a bit of surplus to requirements he's become, and I think he'll be gone. I think he'll be gone. So we'll see, though. Maybe Mbeumo's just on the bench tomorrow, and maybe Mbeumo doesn't play. And maybe we start with Sesko, and then maybe Xerxes comes on. That could happen. Could happen. So we'll see how that necessarily goes. But listen, we're going to get out of here. Okay, 2 hours. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for getting involved in the comments. Thank you for smashing the like button. We got 15 likes today, so you guys killed it. Great stuff. We started off the show with a bang. Chat was very lively today, very opinionated. Some very good stuff. Yeah, we're getting ready for tomorrow. We will be live an hour before kickoff. So if you're around, if you're available, if you got time, come in. We'll do the the build up to the match. We'll have the lineup. We'll discuss the lineup. We'll discuss sort of what we feel like going into the match and stuff like that. We'll obviously do the watch along during the match if you want to stick around for that, if you like that sort of stuff. And then we will be live again right after the match ends to do the Red Devil recap. So it's full day tomorrow, big day. And then going forward, and I'll mention this again tomorrow, probably twice, but Wednesday there will be no stream. And Thursday, there will be no stream. And I believe Friday, there will be no stream either. So after tomorrow, there's going to be 3 days of definitely no stream. Saturday is a bit up in the air. Okay. And I'll try to let you guys know through the proper channels, because Saturday, I don't know. I might be working. I might not be working. So to be determined. I will sort of say that I feel like Saturday we'll probably be able to do a show. Okay, I feel like most likely I will be available, but there is a possibility that it won't happen. And then obviously the guaranteed day that we definitely will do a show, 100% set in gold, penciled in. Sunday is guaranteed. So tomorrow guaranteed. And Sunday guaranteed. Everything else, and I guess Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday definitely guaranteed no shows. Saturday is the one up in the air. So, Lucky says Joshua Xerxes go prove possible wrong. Well, he's got to. It's his only job he's got, but we'll see. Renosa says, "All right, bro. Peace out. Have a good one, you too, brother. Peace out, man. Have a good one. Enjoy yourself." Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Thank you again for the support, brother. Good stuff, man. And I enjoyed the conversation as always. And Renoso said peace out to Lucky as well. Yeah. Peace out, Lucky. Peace out to everybody. See you guys later. Everybody that's watching in the background and listening. Thank you for your support. Thank you anybody that was new and subscribed. Okay. We appreciate you. Welcome to the community. Welcome to the family. Look forward to seeing you and hearing from you and being part of the community and future lives and stuff like that. There's a place for all of us to have a real conversation, and we're more than glad for you to voice your opinion and your thoughts. And don't ever feel shy, and don't ever feel scared. We allow people to speak here. So yeah, very good. Great show. Everybody take care. Be good. And we'll see each other tomorrow, 1 hour before kickoff. Be there. Don't be late. Come show love, show support. Even if you don't stick around for the whole thing, it does make a difference. You come in there, you hit the like button. YouTube likes that. YouTube likes the viewers. They also like people getting involved in the comments. So, come out, support the stream. Yeah, let's go United. And we'll see each other tomorrow, all right? Be good.